The Toronto Raptors have been dealing with a backup guard problem all throughout the season. The solution to this problem, though, is right in front of them, but in this video, I'm going to give you the real reason why they still cannot fix it. It has long been a problem for this Raptors team in finding productive backup guard minutes. It's been a problem all throughout this season, but the problem kind of spans even further beyond that, going all the way back to last season. The entirety of last season, issues came with the minutes per game, especially for Fred VanVleet, as he had to play 40 minutes per game because, well, when he was off the floor, the team would collapse. They wouldn't have a serviceable guard, a serviceable ball handler to come into the game. And this season, they have really been searching for answers with different players, all the way from Jeff Dowtin to Malachi Flynn to Dalano Banton, and now Will Barton, who has entered the mix, and he really has been underwhelming for the team. If you guys don't know me, my name is Jacob, and this is my channel, Amateur Sports, where I discuss various Raptors-related topics in videos, live stream shorts, and more. And I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by the Queensway Automotive Group. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them later on in the video. When Will Barton came into the team, we had some limited expectations for the player. Sure, we were excited because this is a player seemingly that was going to help us, just help us. The Raptors have struggled so much having no backup guard on their team that is reliable all throughout the season, really. Will Barton is somebody that had a solid career. He was a starting player in Denver where he put up decent numbers. The biggest thing that Will Barton could provide for the team was he could shoot. This is a player who has consistently shot in the high 30s for three-point percentage on decent volume. That's all we needed. In the offseason, it wasn't really a problem that was addressed by the Raptors front office. It was kind of addressed with the addition of Juancho Hernangomez, but he came into the team and really struggled to hit the three ball. So naturally, the Raptors found an opportunity to upgrade on that role. They brought in Will Barton, who had recently been bought out by the Washington Wizards. We waived Juancho Hernangomez to make room, and Will Barton came into the team. Now, oftentimes, buyout players, they're overrated. They're usually not really going to contribute much to your team, but for a Raptors team struggling so deeply to find depth within the roster, it seemed like Will Barton just hitting like a couple of threes per game, a couple of layups per game, that was going to be more than enough to satisfy our needs for that backup sort of player. And what we've gotten from Will Barton is even less than those limited expectations that we set for the player. So far in his Raptors career, he's played in 11 games, and he has made only 12 of his 46 shots from the field, and he has only made 5 of his 25 three-point attempts, good for 20%. Now, I understand this is a pretty limited sample size, but this is a guy who's been brought here to hit shots. He's been open very often. In fact, these days, last 2 games he's had to start because of all these injuries, he has been wide open for so many of these shots, and he is still not hitting them. In the recent span of games, Will Barton has been used as the backup point guard for this Raptors team. Like I said, there's just been so many problems in those areas. We're looking for desperate sort of solutions. It was seemed like Will Barton could be that sort of desperate solution that just kind of helps us tread water. Nick Nurse has said in a recent press conference, it's not about winning the bench minutes. It's about just staying neutral in those bench minutes, even maybe potentially slightly losing those bench minutes. But those bench minutes just cannot cost you the entire game, which there's been some games in the last couple of weeks where that has absolutely 100% been the case. Will Barton, though, is absolutely not helping the cause. He struggles defensively. He struggles on offense. He just doesn't provide much to the team. And even though he started the last couple of games, his minutes haven't been tremendous for the team just because Nurse is seeing he's not really providing much to his team. Now, thankfully, in yesterday's win against the Detroit Pistons, he actually hit a three-pointer, but he still really struggled from the field and really struggled to create offense for himself. But there is a solution to this problem. We've long been plagued with finding the right player to be the backup point guard for this team, to be on the court and handle the ball when Fred VanVleet actually has to go on the bench and get his rest. Whatever your differences are with Fred VanVleet, whatever negative opinions you have about him, surely you understand the team thrives when he is on the court with his ball handling and his ability to initiate the offense. That is a big problem to not have when he is on the bench. Will Barton, admittedly, maybe not. That's not what Will Barton's game truly is. That's not the type of player that Will Barton should be. He's kind of been shoehorned into this role. Admittedly, that could be the case, but he has certainly struggled. The solution to this problem, though, seems to be very simple, and it comes with one of the players that is currently on our team, and that is Jeff Dowtin. Jeff Dowtin in the last month or so, maybe even the last month and a half here, has been impressive. He has really struggled and really fought to get his minutes with the Raptors, but with the Raptors in such a desperate spell about a month ago, Jeff Dowtin was provided an opportunity to be that backup point guard, and he seized it. He's not the flashiest type of player. He's not going to be shooting the ball a ton, but we just need a conservative point guard who can hold it down as the ball handler on offense and can remain relevant on the court on defense. That is exactly what Jeff Dowtin has done. He's not lit the world on fire or anything. He's shooting 45% from the field this season, 30% from three, but he's consistent and he's solid. That's all we need in those positions right now. That is all we need from the player. And every time I see Jeff Dowtin come on the court, he is effective. So, simple fix. You need a backup point guard. Jeff Dowtin can be that guy. But as I said in the intro, the problem is bigger than it actually seems. And now a word from our sponsor, the Queensway Automotive Group, comprised of a group of young entrepreneurs who are here to service all of your automotive needs. What's great is that they are Toronto Raptors fans and they are fans of amateur hour sports. They are here to service your car problems from big to small. If you want a new car, they have a great range of dealerships offering cars such as Volkswagen, Mazda, Mitsubishi, and more on the way. If you need a used car, they have a great line of over 150 used cars ranging from various prices to fit your budget needs. If you have just a simple question about cars, you want to know what your car is worth, you want to know if you should sell a car, you need to get out of a difficult lease that you have, you can contact the Queensway Automotive Group and they are going to help you out. And like I said, by helping them out, you're helping me out and you're staying within the amateur hour community. Visit my special link in the description to reach out to the Queensway Automotive Group and sort out your car needs today. It would make sense for the Raptors just to go to Jeff Dowtin more often. Like, we can even talk about the game yesterday against the Pistons where, we were up by a lot. We won that game handily. But Jeff Dowtin once again was impressive and showcased once again that, hey, this should be the guy getting consistent minutes for this team. But here comes the problem. Jeff Dowtin is on a two-way contract. So, great. You can put him in the G League where he's impressed with the Raptors 905, who just got eliminated from playoff contention, by the way. He can also play in the NBA. But with these two-way contracts, it comes with only a maximum of 50 games of eligibility where he can dress for the team. Jeff Dowtin at this point has dressed for 45 of the Raptors games. He's only played in 20 of the games, but he's been active and dressed for 45 of them so far, and there are 8 remaining games in the season. Nick Nurse has understood at this point that Jeff Dowtin is a player that can help this team, but we are currently being handcuffed by the contract situation. This is where I have my beef and I have my qualms with the Raptors front office for the decision making that they have gone through this season, because there are players on this team on those guaranteed contracts, on those NBA contracts that are taking away the minutes unnecessarily from Jeff Dowtin. And the Raptors at this point in the season need every single win that they can get. And every minute on the court is important. There's games this season where the Raptors play extremely well for 40 minutes and they lose it in an 8-minute stretch with the bench on the court. I think a lot of these constraints can be alleviated with Jeff Dowtin coming to the game. Once again, this is not a player that is going to light the world on fire for the team, but here's a player that's going to provide stability in this role that we just have not had all throughout the season. But in order to get him on a standard NBA contract, we're going to have to waive a player because the Raptors don't have a roster spot remaining. One of those roster spots was recently given to Will Barton. One of those roster spots was recently given to Joe Wieskamp, and this is where the problem is for the Raptors. There are 4 players on the Toronto Raptors roster here on standard NBA contracts that are taking away minutes unnecessarily for Jeff Dowtin, but the front office does not want to replace them because it will make them look bad. The 4 players on the roster who should easily be replaced by Jeff Dowtin are Malachi Flynn, Dalano Banton, Joe Wieskamp, and Will Barton. First of all, we talk about Malachi Flynn. Malachi Flynn, I've always wanted this guy to succeed. I was high on him going into that 2020 draft. He has not panned out. There is no reason for the Raptors to continue to just shovel him minutes just for the sake of it. I know he has not been in the rotation for a long time. With all the injury concerns, he's been in the last couple of games. Yeah, he was good against the Pacers. The Pistons game yesterday was a reminder of what he really is. There's no need for him to be on the roster ahead of Jeff Dowtin, but earlier on in the season, I had an issue when the Raptors took on Malachi Flynn's 4th-year option. Now that they've taken that on, it's guaranteed for next season. It would look really bad if they waived him now after guaranteeing that money for next season. So you're kind of stuck with Malachi Flynn at this point unless you trade him. Dalano Banton is a player the Raptors have had hopes for, but at this point, I'm completely out on this player. I just don't think there's a future, a legitimate future as an NBA contributor. But the Raptors, I've been led to believe, left him out of any sort of trade negotiations with the San Antonio Spurs at the trade deadline. In the trade where we got Jakob Poeltl, the Spurs reportedly had interest in acquiring Dalano Banton in that trade, but the Raptors wanted to keep him. And I think likely it cost the Raptors an additional second-round pick in order to keep Dalano Banton. It's very clear Jeff Dowtin is more important to this team than Dalano Banton, but, well, Dalano Banton, you kept him and it cost you an extra second-round pick. That would look really bad to get rid of Dalano Banton to make room for Jeff Dowtin, who's been on your team all along. So you can't waive Dowtin. Then you go further down the list. Joe Wieskamp was recently given his standard NBA contract. He's not been in rotation. Some people have issues with that. The reality is, all he really does is shoot threes. You know, maybe there is a future in the NBA for a player like that, but for our team, he doesn't provide what we need right now. Jeff Dowtin certainly does, but because the Raptors just gave Joe Wieskamp the guarantee to the end of this season, it would look really bad if you signed him instead of converting the guy, Jeff Dowtin, that was already on your team. So naturally, Joe Wieskamp stays. The fourth one goes to Will Barton. Now, I understand taking a flyer on Will Barton. This one makes a lot more sense. What we've seen from Will Barton would indicate that, yeah, we don't really need the guy on this team, but because you just signed him, he's a vet, you're going into a playoff run. At least he has some sort of playoff experience, Will Barton. Not a whole ton, but at least he does have some playoff experience. That is not a guy you can get rid of. Those are 4 players on the roster who are worse and less affected than Jeff Dowtin, but are here to stay because of the mishandling of contracts, the mishandling of finances from the front office. So naturally, here we are now. The team is handcuffed. Having that player in Jeff Dowtin that can make a difference to this team as the backup point guard, just a small difference, but that is enough for the current state of this Raptors bench and for the state of the season, where we are right now in the season, where every minute is important, every single game is important, every win is vital. He has 5 games left of eligibility, and as a two-way player, if the Raptors make the playoffs, if they're in the play-in, he is not going to be eligible to feature in those games. If the Raptors actually care about winning this season, if they want to go places, and they want to get the most out of this current roster, and evidently they do, based on the way they handled the trade deadline, Jeff Dowtin needs to be converted to a standard NBA contract. A lot of mistakes have gotten us to this point where we're desperate enough that we have to get Jeff Dowtin in this team, that's the reality of the situation. And if, again, the front office wants to be a winning team, they need to stop handcuffing Nick Nurse with his personnel and give him the right player to get the most out of this group and take us as far as we can go this season. For better or worse, that's the direction we've chosen. You know, part of me still wishes we were a selling team at the deadline. In fact, I kind of wish we were the selling team at the deadline. But here we are. We want to be a winning team. We're in a dogfight for those playing positions. We need to get the most out of this team. The front office has a difficult decision to make because the solution to this backup guard problem is very much right in front of us. What do you guys make of this whole situation? Do you think the Raptors should make room for Jeff Dowtin to give him a standard contract? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That is all for this video. If you did enjoy, hit that thumbs up button. Let's try to get to 200 likes on today's video, and subscribe to Amateur Sports to help me on the road to 14,000 subs and to stay up to date with all this great Raptors content I have coming your way.